And if you,
I think so because I played way much than T-Bone.
Oh no, he got that. Oh, called him out.
One.
welcome everybody to this week's episode of Mount Paozu Arcade. I am Meta Abe here with Hell Pockets, and we got a nice little chunk of information over these past few weeks, haven't we, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, well, we took a week off. You know, we had a little bit of a break, and in that week of a break, we got an explosion of information, not only from Game Informer, shout out to Game Informer, but also from V-Jump, who has been, you know, just dropping the bombs on us almost the last 2 months entirely. Ginyu and Nappa. Two of my picks made it in. And obviously, you know, I'm not gonna gloat about it, Abe. I'm not gonna gloat about it because that was on my safe list. That was my safe list. That wasn't my dream list.
Yeah, that totally was not your real list. I feel like you had other people to say. Especially, I feel the one that I'll definitely give credit to that did the hard commit was probably Tatsu.
Yes, Tatsu was very much committed to those two characters.
So I'm pretty happy. You know what? I did not really expect Nappa to be in the game as much as I did think Ginyu was going to be in. I feel like that was a shoo-in. But I feel like it could have gone so many other ways other than Nappa, at least at this point right now, as far as like what characters are getting released. I'm surprised, but in a good way. Obviously, I really have liked the character Nappa. Like, I think we talked about it before, like there's almost majority of the cast in Dragon Ball I don't think I have a problem with at all. Like, I like them. I like most of the cast. So yeah, I dig it, man. I'm on board with the character list as far as we got right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there with you. You know, like there are just so many characters in the Dragon Ball continuity that, you know, it's hard to really say who would fit best and who wouldn't be cool in this game. Almost everybody in Dragon Ball Z, at least, had something that, you know, a viewer fell in love with. You know. And I gotta say, they're probably doing some pretty cool stuff with them because we can get into it. But these characters are not playing the way that I thought they would. You know, I definitely did not predict that Nappa would be a character with a familiar, with an assist, a summon. But they gave him the Cyberman summon, and same thing goes for Ginyu, who not only gets to summon Rikum, Berter, he gets to summon everybody. He gets to use his entire team to attack with, and still has his own set of normals, I assume. And of course, he has everybody wanted to know if it was going to happen if he got in. He has the body change. How is that going to work?
Yeah, I've been racking my brain about that one for a few days now because I'm like, are they gonna like do the hard commit and just do it like it does in the anime, in the manga? Like, are they gonna commit to like, yeah, you legit switch bodies, like, and
yes.
that's that. There's no other differences about it. You just straight up switch.
And it's like it's almost like they were telling us that you think we won't do it. You think we're some bitches? Like, we won't just put a mechanic in the game that just. It works exactly the way we said it was going to work. The way it works in the anime, there's no gimmick. It's just you got to play the other character now, and the other player has to play Ginyu now. That's it.
In saying that, we still haven't seen concrete evidence in gameplay, but we'd have to assume if there was some drawbacks to it, like what the hell would it be? You know, like. I'm kind of leaning more towards that they'll probably do it straight up the way that it is in Dragon Ball, in Dragon Ball Z.
Well, there is a precedent for it too. You know, you have 12 from Third Strike who has the X copy, and he gets to basically turn his match into a mirror match. This is a little different than that, where it's like, you know, you're forcing your opponent to play your character, and Yeah, I mean,
Life. It's related to life, though. That's the problem.
yeah,
That's a similar-ish mechanic, but not real. I don't think there's a precedent for this where it's like you just beat the shit out of me and I switch and now you're about to die.
yeah. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's a precedent. Or
Oh no, there's not a precedent for that. No, for sure, you're right. But there, there's been steps towards stuff like this. You know, we're not getting too caught out of left field with that. In fact, people have been making the comparison to 12 pretty much since it was announced. But one of the other things that they're bringing up is the fact that, you know, this is a great example of this game stepping outside of its fourth wall. You know, here's this game basically saying, like, you're in this game, you're immersed in your team playing this other team. You have your strats, you have all this stuff that you match up information, right? And bam, all of a sudden you got to play a character that you potentially don't know how to play because that's part of the game.
so everybody's got to have a pocket Ginyu
Basically, everybody has to have a pocket Ginyu, yeah.
in case that exact situation happens.
It might. Like, what if it's good? What if it's like it's fast? What if it's unblockable? You know? What if like the only downside to it is like he has to be low health?
Man, I'm gonna tell you something about this game. I have not been able to make accurate, or at least there's certain ways I think they're gonna go about making the game, and then they don't do that. Like they do something completely different, and in that, I want to think that they're gonna make it some type of drawback, like how you just said, where he has to have a low life. But at the same time, I feel like they would totally go the way where it's like, nah, dude, it's as crazy a gimmick as it was on the show. Like, it's gonna work like that, dude. Also, they never clarified still to this day. You know what? Fuck, let me look at this video real quick. Are the Dragon Balls even in those videos?
In the ones from GameStop?
Game Informer.
Oh, Game Informer. I think they do pop up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just might have already automatically glazed over it.
Okay.
But back to the Ginyu thing. It's like I think they're gonna do it, man. I think they're gonna stick to his origins. Like it's gonna be like it was on the manga.
Well, you gotta think that the game that Arxis and Bamco are playing right now is a very dangerous game because they can't take too many creative liberties when they've already committed to being 1-for-1 shots with the show and manga. You know, they already took a creative liberty with Android 16 technically with his suicide bomb. He's supposed to be dead after that, but they gave him a pixel of health and he gets to recover that, which is, you know, that's working within the realm of a fighting game, obviously. But it's not 1-for-1 with the game, and I'm pretty sure someone's going to complain about it. But that alone, just the fact that they had it in there and it works the way that it does is like, man, you know, like. You guys can't pump the brakes anymore. It's too late.
Not only that, dude. You go into sparking and you could potentially get all that shit back.
Yes. Now that's something that I was bringing. Like, what if Ginyu does body change with freaking like with Android 16 and snaps out an opponent, does suicide, pulls himself out. You know, like we don't even know how the hell if he can even switch his body back. We don't even know if he can even do that as the body switched character. You know. There's like all these things that come into play all of a sudden that normally weren't even a question in any game ever. Like, what if the dude blows me up with my own character? Like, literally. What if the dude insta-kills me with my own insta-kill and his body switches back to his original character and I'm left with a pixel of health?
And obviously this is gonna, or I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the type of move that you can use as long as you meet the requirements of how many stocks of meter you have.
For sure, man. There's
I don't think it's that like it's gonna be like sparking where it's like you got one. Like, you can kind of do it if you can muster up enough bar more than once.
I mean, I gotta think I gotta think you're right. You know, I gotta think that they are not going to limit you to one body change. And I mean, the question here comes in when the other guy's playing Ginyu. Does he have access to body change?
He should. Yeah. Well, see, kind of like how you said about with Android 16 and the way they work that mechanic. I feel like right there that probably would they'd make that work for sure in the context of a fighting game. Yeah, I think that'll work for sure. Like we were talking about before, the biggest thing in question is it gonna work as is? You know, that is the real mind fuck. And then to actually, when they show us this trailer and he actually does it or gameplay somebody doing it, and it's like, bro, you just switch bodies like for real. It'd be crazy if you not only switch bodies, but now you have to I'm assuming that the life bars don't flip or anything. Now you're on the other side.
Actually, they do, because in the manga, Ginyu famously stabbed himself in the gut and then did body change with Goku and got his healthy body, while Goku got Ginyu's messed up body.
That's not what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. That's part of the gimmick. But what I'm talking about is that you actually are, say you're second player, you automatically turn into first player. You use all the shit that's on first player side.
Oh, you mean like switch? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like if your character, hey, what if your character still has Sparky? You know,
oh my god, dude! You get the meter and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's a wild ass concept for sure.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
And probably much more of a hype announcement than the actual videos that we got from Yamcha and Tien so far. Like, don't get me wrong, I've been on board with this the whole way. I'm super excited for the game, but this is one of those steps that they take throughout the course of revealing all this stuff that really piqued my interest. It's like, this is going to change the game. This is a game changer. Whatever's going to come out of this next gameplay or character trailer reveal, it's going to be a really big deal.
Yeah, I mean, not to take away the interest in Tenshinhan and Yamcha, because, I mean, I'm happy to play Yamcha. I'm definitely putting him as an alt on my team, if not up front. But, yeah, like, I was not expecting, like, I think it was a slow burn. Yesterday, when they first came out, there was some trepidation, just to say the least. You know, some people were like, hey, they announced they announced Nappa and Ginyu, and, you know, Tatsu's happy about it. I'm like, hey, I told you guys it was going to happen. Extreme Butoden fans were like, hey, check the list, guys. We told you guys. But then everybody else seemed to be like, really? Like, did Nappa and Ginyu really even need, like, a spread in a magazine? You couldn't anchor them with somebody else? And then, as the day went on, the translations started coming out, and people started realizing exactly what these characters were going to be capable of.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like, they became, like, you know, it's almost like when 18 got revealed, you know? And people were like, oh, shit, this is totally changing the way this game works. And
so, go ahead, sorry.
And I'm thinking, like, these characters, and I also want to preface this with, I'm hoping that if these aren't the last characters that will have summons, I hope there's only one more. I hope that's it after this, because right now we're looking at 18, Tenshinhan, Nappa, Ginyu. You know, all four of those characters have, you know, they fight with summons. They fight with, you know, basically built-in assist buttons, and in addition to the assists that they get from their teammates. I'm hoping that's not overdone, because I feel like after, like, maybe 5 or 6 of those, people gonna start thinking like, oh, you guys are just too lazy to put in, you know, different characters. You know, you had to conserve time and you had to conserve space, and so you put, like, you know, Super Boo in with Kid Boo. Like, oh man, explosions.
I think the only time where that was kind of like, I'm not 1,000% a fan of them doing it, was when they did it with 18 and 17.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of that, though, this shit kind of makes sense. Like, for instance, the Cybermen. Like, okay, that's a really creative thing. I dig it. Like, that's cool. Like, I could see how that would be a really cool assist type move or whatever to be a part of his moveset.
For sure.
It makes even more sense with Ginyu when it's like you got the whole squad, man. Like, that's fucking cool, you know?
That is cool. And I mean, and I wanted at least Raccoon to be his own character, but I'm totally okay with him being on the squad, helping Ginyu out, attacking one character. Now, the thing I'm kind of concerned with beyond that is how are those going to work? Are they going to work like 18 and 17 work? Because 18 and 17 in the anime and manga have been known to attack in unison. But Nappa and Cybermen and Ginyu, the Ginyu squad, have not necessarily been known to all attack at the same time. You know? So it's a question on with if you summon them, are you able to move independently of them as they're performing their actions or not? If you can, it's possible that they could be two of the best characters in the game.
Also, I think we have such little details on it, but what if Nappa works kind of like in a similar way that Jacko works in Guilty Gear?
People have been saying that, and that's a really strong tool to have in a game like this, where you're basically watching out for not just the character you're fighting, but these little guys running around on the screen, and they can be there when you try to evade. It's not going to be like 17 where like it possibly could not be like 17 where he pops out, performs an action, and then goes away. The Cyberman's more like, I'm going to pop in and then I'm going to keep going at you until I grab you and explode.
Oh man, that gameplay trailer, we're going to be waiting with bated breath for sure.
I cannot wait.
Fuck. Yes. This is the type of stuff that we've been talking about week after week, where it's like every time we find out about a new character or what gimmicks they had in the show, it makes us worried as to how it's going to get implemented and still kind of remain not a batshit crazy game, you know? And luckily they kept it together, right? Like so far, and I think Tatsu and Nakia were talking about it. It's like I like where the game's at right now. Like I'm happy with it. And what we're worried about is like how these characters get implemented. And the first one I think that we're really fucking worried about is this fucking Ginyu guy.
Dude.
This is okay. So Ginyu for sure, wild as fuck thing that he's gonna have.
Wild card, like the epitome of it.
As he should though.
Yes,
like,
he should be.
That is a big deal, or that was a big arc in the show, and if they really want to stay true to form or try to implement it in a way like that, then it would make sense that would be a big move that he has, right?
Yeah, that would be like it would make perfect sense. But I mean, like I don't want to interrupt you too much, but like I pose I want to pose like the situation. What if like Ginyu is hella good? Even without body change, what if he's just like Ginyu on his own?
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that same thing, where it's like a lot of times when they make these characters, it's like, oh, well, they just got that gimmick, and their whole game plan is based around the gimmick.
Exactly.
But what if his specials are good? What if he has good fucking normals? You know, like, then he's gonna be a real fucking problem.
Yeah. What if he like set play hell or some shit like that? You know, like the body change is almost a nerf button in that sense. Like you're literally only using it so you don't die, and then you hopefully can play the other character's character.
How cool is that though? That he could be such a good character that's like, oh fuck, well I guess I didn't pull it off this time, but I always got that ace in the hole with the body change if I can land it. You know? Exciting time right now in the timeline before this release date. I can't really, I don't know. Let's chat. Let's try to come up with a character that might have such a crazy mechanic in the game that has yet to be revealed as part of the list. That's something I want to try to figure out for myself too. Like, who could impact this game in a way like how Ginyu probably will if the mechanic works like we think it is. You know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get like 3 votes for Broly right now.
Really? But what mechanics does he have that is similar? That's a game changer, you know?
That's a game changer, not necessarily in that sense. I mean, I'm not saying that he's my preferred pick in that sense. I think he would be very straightforward, and possibly the only thing that would be game changing for him is just extreme armored moves, you know? But even that's not really a game changer. That's more just like, oh, this character's fucking cheap, you know?
Ooh, yeah, that's why I really want to highlight Ginyu, because like maybe it's just because this is off the top of my head, but nobody has a crazy ass mechanic like that. I think the only one that we could have considered were kind of like this similar to a suicide-ish type move where it was like Boo or fucking 16, you know, like, and we saw how that worked out. So,
dude, so like I actually just thought about it. You make a good point. Now, what if they've gone this far with Ginyu? They're gonna put Boo in, like Super Boo. If they put Super Boo in, his gimmick is absorbing people and then getting their powers. You know?
that would be dope, but that's just too many characters in the character list you have to be animated for. So I don't think that that's gonna happen.
That's what I'm thinking too. But at the same time, I'm like, I mean, they kind of prove us wrong every time. Now, I'm not saying I don't think that they'll give him all their moves, but I'm pretty sure it'll be like Rogue in X-Men vs. Street Fighter, where she gets like a move from them, and then he can like add that to his normal list.
What could happen is that when he uses certain moves, he could morph into that version of Super Boo or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
Like when he does a super, he turns into Vegito, fucking whatever, or not Vegito, fucking Gohan, or yeah, he does. Oh, he absorbs Gotenks. Right?
Yeah. And then he gets his Kamikaze Ghost attack.
Yeah. So that would be smart. I think that's a good prediction if he's in the game.
If he's in the game,
they would use the mechanic that way. Another thing that would be like a hard commit would be to like have God, what the fuck is his name? I'm forgetting his name. The fucking Stone Spitter.
Dabura, yeah.
Yeah, if they hard committed to his fucking stone shit, which I don't think they will, because doesn't Boo make people into cookies and eat them, and then they're still not dead?
Yeah. So
this is why we can't predict shit, man, because it's like they're all over the place with this stuff.
Like I think that's actually keeping Dabura out of it, is simply because his move is potentially it's like the freaking X Factor. Like no matter what your power level is, you can't stop yourself from being petrified. Basically,
yeah.
If he spits on you.
Okay, so I'll take a prediction right now, since we're early on still and there's still a lot to get revealed. I do think that the gameplay will be very surprising. I think right now we might consider him, if he gets into the game, to be a pretty straightforward, outside of how his time slip shit is gonna work. But I think it's gonna be pretty crazy. I think he's probably the next character to have some craziness added to his gameplay.
I think so too. I think that his ability is so extreme in the sense that they won't even be able to sugarcoat it, because there's no like, we'll do a light version of time skip. You know, it's just time skip. You're just gonna have to like you're gonna have to program it so that he is able to. I mean, let's face it, it's gonna give him invul frames on moves that probably shouldn't be invul.
Yes, because I mean, if we were to take our best stab at it, I would assume that that's how they would use it.
Yeah, like and in a game like this where you can just like suddenly decide to make yourself invulnerable, like holy shit, man. Yeah. You don't have to like take anything. I mean, obviously there'll be some drawbacks to it. It'll have to be like really short, and you have to like commit to it. And there's probably going to be a certain amount of cooldown after the attack, but it's also like what the fuck? Like how do you consciously program that? You know, as a fighting game developer, how do you say like, oh yeah, this is fine. This is not breaking every rule in fighting game lore and design.
Well, what if he kind of works like Chip?
Oh, you mean like with the teleports?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that could work.
Yeah, if you think about it, like okay, take your mind off of the fact that Chip is a teleport character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just consider the dashes to, it's not teleport; he's just moving really fast. I feel like if they use that as a basis, that they'd be able to make it work. Like, check this out. What if you could do teleports, and program into the teleport is a sort of a counter. Like, if I'm in your face, there's a certain amount of frames that I have a counter, and then he does the whole like punch moves or whatever.
Yeah, I can see that working.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this is what's got me so excited about this, is because this is a culmination of many years of trying shit out, some of that stuff failing, and trying to apply it within a very popular license and do something new with it, you know. And this is what I really appreciate that Arc Systems has been doing is in the context of a true 2D fighter. They've been able to implement a lot of stuff from the series almost one to one, and still show us something new in a fighting game sense. Period. In a fighting game overall.
Right. You never actually feel like you're not playing a fighting game that has been given love and care when you're playing fighters. You're still feeling like you're playing a really good fighting game, but in the fact that they're trying to be as close to the subject material as possible, I won't even say accidentally, they're creating new ideas within the genre. And they're even coming out and saying that with the whole Dragon Ball meter system, which, like you said before, is continually scaring the shit out of everybody. Like,
oh man, yeah. You know what? That's the fucking mechanic. That's gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
We kind of forgot about it because we're on this hype train of these videos and Ginyu or whatever. But that could be a whole part of the game that has nothing to do with the specific character that truly throws everything in a loop.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's coming to the point where even though I don't know what it does, I'm kind of hoping there's a way to turn it off.
Well, you know, I don't know, man. But let's try to segue into how all this that we're talking about is going to be affected by the fact that there has been a date announced, and now we kind of understand the scope of what can be done in that time frame, right?
Right. So to begin it off, game basically gets announced in June 2017, the day before E3. After the expose at E3, they tell us game's 20% done, and everybody's like, "Oh shit!" You know, amazing. And you know the hype continues, and then we get a trailer, and then they say out loud, "It'll be available by February," which is at best, I think most people were thinking tentative. You know, most people were just like, "Okay, they say February, but it's Bamco, so they're probably meaning more like August or some shit, right?" Or early I guess May. And we continue to watch the development process, and people make their ballpark choices that, it's up to 25, 30, 35% done. And we're getting more characters. And then Yamcha and Tenshinhan come out, and something new happens when that occurs.
Yep.
Those characters were not finished yet. They are not finished yet. Every piece of footage that we have of Yamcha and Tenshinhan right now is incomplete. And I don't know to what degree. What degree. It seems like some of those animations just aren't in for Tenshinhan, especially. No voices are added yet. That could be handled maybe in a weekend or something. I don't know. But this is the first time that we saw them kind of showing their work process to us.
Very raises a lot of questions because they've been knocking it out of the ballpark with a lot of their gameplay, their gameplay reveals and the character reveals, where it's like what you see is pretty much what you're getting in the final product. But this time, also another thing that's very different. This time, everything is under the umbrella of Game Informer, which is also very odd. So there's a lot of things to speculate as to why that's happening.
Yeah,
I mean, you got Tenshinhan and Yamcha, right? Yes, of course, they're beloved characters, but where do they fall in the totem pole? Is that a reason why they gave them exclusively to a Game Informer? I don't know.
I feel like they gave them the Game Informer because maybe they wanted to say, you know what, we can't give you the good stuff yet. Now, this is something that I didn't talk to you about before the show. And this is a big if. This is a big maybe, and I don't know why they would have chosen to go down this route if they did, but maybe it's possible that they already have some characters that are done that they are waiting to unveil closer to release so that they get that real nice pre-release fever pitch. You know? and
Yeah.
that's not a bad strategy. Now, is it a gamble? Oh yes, entirely a big gamble. May not even pay off at all. And I gotta say, Yamcha and Tenshinhan are the safe bet. If you're going to give your and they didn't even know this was going to be that big. Remember that, Abe. Remember that they did not think that Fighters was not going to be as big as it was before it even got released. If you're going to give your possibly new flagship title, not that it's going to dethrone Tekken or anything, but possibly a new flagship title for your company, if you're going to give it to Game Informer, who, I mean, no offense to Game Informer, but I didn't even know they had a website. I didn't even know they did digital stuff. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not saying that they, whatever. There's a lot of like websites I don't know about. But it just kind of came out of left field for me. And I feel like if you're going to give them the month-long exclusive, you're probably not going to give them the AAA gold characters. You're going to give them something that, moderately popular, something that people can meme about, because to a certain extent, maybe Bamco is just demonstrating that they really understand the American market. And they know that we would go wild for the crazy, hyper popular characters, but we also like the goofy shit. We also like the goofy shit, and we like to make jokes out of it, and we can totally milk that shit for like months, And so they gave us some undone characters, basically.
Yeah. Another thing is how I didn't know that Game Informer worked that way either. At the same time, another problem that this is probably gonna be the only part where I throw a little bit of shit in the direction of this is that. Man, those gameplay videos were hard to watch for me. Like, this is the first time in a while where they put out videos where it's like, fuck, you guys really might be the first time ever touching this game. Cause it was, like I said, hard to watch. And that, what? I think that's what set me up for being so excited about Nappa and Ginyu, because I was just so turned off by the gameplay video. I was like, I feel like I'm not getting anything out of this.
I mean, all right, so us as fighting game fans, as people who have competed in tournaments, we see that stuff and we're just like, yeah, we don't get anything from that. And I think I just gotta have to come out and say it, man. I don't think we're the audience. I don't think we're Game Informer's audience.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. What if they're actually a lot bigger than I think they are? Because I only know them from a print perspective, right?
Right, exactly.
From that, like back in the day, I didn't know that they had a whole thing going on in conjunction with GameStop. Something that you mentioned to me. And I was like, oh, well, it makes sense. They get a lot of exposure, so they do have a certain audience. It's just it fell under the radar for, I guess, us. Like, what the fuck, Yeah,
and I will say that, because of that, Dragon Ball FighterZ has more eyes on it than it would have had if they just promoted to the FGC. The FGC would have done as much pushing as it possibly could, and it would have been great. It would have been valiant, and it's still probably going to be the first time the FGC is probably so united on a game ever. But Bamco was like, why stop there? Why not give this game the attention that not only we, but also the FGC believes it deserves? Let's give an exclusive. Now, I don't think they should have gave him a month-long exclusive, because that shit is dragging, man. Like, I know how hard it is to make great content for 30 days straight out of what they obviously gave them. Now, maybe they gave them something that they're saving for the big finish or something, but as of right now, we're kind of cruising off these bad Yamcha Tenshinhan videos and the Super Saiyan Blue character videos, which those were good. I like those. That showed off a lot of cool stuff. The Tenshinhan Yamcha videos basically just showed us what we were talking about, that these characters are not finished, are still interesting, but we want to move along as fans,
Yeah, this just keeps reminding me about how I watched the video. They didn't have like real combo exhibitions. Like, they at least have something like that in the other reveals. Like, this shit is just, here's a few specials and the super. All right, wrap it up.
Well, I think it's also important to point out that I don't know if this is something that they meant to do or if it was by accident, but some of those videos are in Japanese and like the dialogues in Japanese, but the subtitles are, and some of the subtitles are in English. Now, I don't know if those are two different builds of the game or if those were recorded at different times in different locations, but it is important to note that. And the videos that have the really lackluster gameplay are the ones with the English subtitles. So I'm of the mind believing that the Game Informer guys are literally trying that out in the studio. And
I'm pretty sure that was the situation.
that was most likely what was happening, right? And that's normal. Like GameSpot did it, IGN did it, shit, Bamco did it, and it didn't look that great either. But I just think that they're trying with what they have, and they're bringing out a lot of great content. So I'm grateful for that, and they're getting a lot of information and a lot of hype building around this game that I gotta say it just wouldn't be there normally. But they did it in a way where Japan, ArcSys, Bamco still hold all the hype cards. Now, like I said before, it's a very flimsy scenario, what I mentioned before, about them having all the cool characters pretty much already done and ready to drop in, descending order. I think what is more likely is that they are running up against the gun here, because the release date is February 1st. The release date in Japan is February 1st now. We don't know what the other dates are. We can only assume that they're at least within the same week of that, because most of the hype for this game is generating around the Western market. But go ahead.
Yeah, a very aggressive date, they've said, right?
Yeah, it basically is attacking. It means that the dev team has to attack the process of making this game now. And if they weren't doing it before, that is, I'm sure they were working night and day for it. And we've got 17 characters. They just revealed Ginyu and Nappa, and I kind of feel like that was them saying, you know what, this is us tying up the loose end on the first half of the series. I think the next reveal is going to be something like maybe something from the Buu series. You might get Kid Buu, Super Buu, Gotenks, Vegito, who knows, right? And then after that, they're going to start dropping the really hype stuff, the current stuff, the super stuff. Mm-hmm. We might see Hit, might see well, I won't say Jiren. It might be too early for that.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say yeah.
We don't need to go. No, we don't need to do that. Yeah. And they're probably running up against a deadline. They're probably behind the gun. And at this point, we're kind of looking to ArcSys and saying, "Hey, man, so how many guys you got on this? How many people working on this game right now?" Some people, and I agree with them, have been. They've been suggesting very, very strongly that everybody at ArcSys has got their hands on this.
That would make sense, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about the scope that the game is trying to go for, and the speed that they've been able to close in on that date in the past fucking like half year is staggering. However, this is not uncommon of a license for Dragon Ball, right? To be super aggressive as far as like how many games they release or how quickly they release it, especially at this point right now. Maybe they're trying, and this is what I hope they're not trying to do, but because of the studio that's working on it. But like for a Dragon Ball Super, like those guys grind that show out, right? Like you think apply the same mentality, like, hey, this is a Dragon Ball content. You guys need to grind this shit out. Like I don't. But the interesting thing is, like, quality has yet to drop, except for this reveal trailer, where it's not really more quality. It's just it's not finished. Like we have not seen quality problem. It's more like the first times where we've seen a bit of a blemish on the move that they made. Exactly.
Like we're kind of catching them in the middle of doing their makeup, basically, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of the mystique and the fantasy is gone. Now you're like, oh yeah, we forgot that this is still a mechanical process. And I mean, most people don't release stuff like that either. Like most developers and publishers are just like, if it's not ready, why would we run it? At least have the voices in. But they're like, you know what? No, they can handle it, and they were right. It went over great. Yamcha and Tenshinhan were tremendous successes in terms of excitement levels for new characters. You know, you got Tenshinhan's level 3 that can become a level 7, and it basically kills you, and as well as himself. And you got Yamcha, who, for whatever reason, has become Bamco's favorite character.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
If it's true that they got all hands on deck, God, I hope they do some type of like documentary about it.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
It's like, this day we brought all the fucking dope ass people in Arxis ever to come in on this one fucking game that's gonna destroy all games ever. Every idea comes together and we work out something that is completely new and different in an IP that's been around for way too fucking long. It's wild, man. It's like we saw they had this one documentary about Daisuke working on Guilty Gear, and it was short, but it was so fucking good. He was talking about how he stayed inside of his cubicle for like weeks, never left.
Holy shit.
And I want to hear what happens, and let's glorify the people working behind these great games. And this seems like a story that is so worth telling, and I can't wait, not only obviously for the game to come out, but for the story of like how this all came to be. You know?
Yeah, like I gotta feel like, you know, there's probably more to that story than just making the game, because I mean, let's face it, they announced it in June and they're telling us like it's gonna be out in 8 months, baby. Like, what? Are you kidding me? 20% done, out in 8 months, and it looks like that, and it's been that consistent. Ugh.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. The producer Tomoko, she has the eye of the fucking tiger every time she does an interview. Like, she seems so focused. Like, we're gonna fucking kill this shit. I'm not gonna show you any emotion, because listen, I'm all in. We're all in right now.
That's an important thing to note, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. So Game Informer did do an interview with Harada, and they asked him like, "Hey, man, like, you know, like how, like what's your role in all of this? What's your piece in this? Because you've spoken out in support of this game and how you would support it after release." And he says, you know, oh yeah, I like the series, and you know, Tomoko is basically a protege of mine. We're showing, you know, me and the other producers are showing her the ropes. The other Dragon Ball producers are showing her the ropes, but none of them, especially Harada, actually came out and said, I would like to make this game, specifically this game. They were just like, and then he even said like, this shit is scary.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can make a Dragon Ball fighting game, sure, but can I make one with this much excitement and emotion behind it, with this much love poured into it, with the intent of it being anything more than an IP tie-in, an IP cash-in? And he was like, can't do it. I wouldn't take that. Not right now. He was like, I just can't do it. And all the other guys, the guys who had made Dragon Ball fighting games in the past, they were just like, no thanks, you know?
Yeah, the scope is just, like, people could be crushed under what basically they're asking for, you know? Like, this had to be established from day one. Like, we're gonna change shit with this fucking game. Like, we have all these resources that we can use, and it's so crazy because you got the Arxis people, right? And then you have fucking cross-company fucking legends helping out just because of the way the publisher and the developer team work together. You know, you have these people that don't usually work together, but are, and they get to bounce ideas off of each other. And this is something that when it actually happens, where there is one goal that everybody is down to make work, that it breathes new life, not only in the game that they're creating, but in the genre that they're creating in.
Yes.
Now it's like, holy shit, man! Like, we gotta do something different, and this is the time right now. There may never be another time like this, you know, for a while, and this is a pretty big deal. I mean, the last time we had something like this, it was a while ago. Maybe around the first Marvel vs. Capcoms, and well, I mean, they're not even developers, but like Capcom versus SNK and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
I would agree. Like those were the groundbreaking. The groundbreaking in those games was like,
mhm,
not necessarily this is how we're going to do games from now on, but now that people know that these crossovers can work and that these
mhm.
systems can be blended together so well, it kind of puts some balls on some people who are probably wondering where they're going to go next with fighting games. And if Dragon Ball does that,
Mhm.
I well, first of all, I don't see it going away anytime soon. Dragon Ball Fighters might be around for a very long time if they're able to accomplish this, but
Yeah.
it actually might make some other companies say, you know what, maybe we do have some creativity left. Maybe we can take a risk. Maybe it's okay to develop in-house. Maybe we don't need to work for deadlines only and for bottom lines. We can always just go back to being artists.
Yeah, man, and that's something that is coming across so much in this game. Like we were talking about it. I don't forget if it was with Tatsu or Nakil, but about how they even took the way they animated the camera angles and everything. And I know Harada talked about that too. That was in the interview where he was like, he gave them insight on like how to use the camera angles and blah blah blah, how to sell impacts and stuff like that, which is something that has always been a great thing in Tekken, right? Like when certain impacts get sold a lot better, blah blah blah. I mean, you were trying to meme that the Vegeta Blue Smash, right?
Yeah.
It's so fucking good, man.
They
Like,
did it perfectly.
mhm. um, yeah, it's crazy, and it's crazy is because um, you can tell that there's so many ways that all these people involved with it have benefited from being a part of this, not just monetarily, but in just learning the process of what it is like to have a game that is a top contender visually versus any game. You'll put it up against anything. But also a game that works well mechanically, or yes, in a mechanic sense, gameplay sense, and stuff like that, and having the intelligence of how to market it as well. And this may be the first time this has been achieved in the modern era of fighting games.
I gotta say it is. I'm just gonna say right now, this is going leagues beyond our most successful fighting game in terms of commercial success. Already commercially marketed, Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4. Those were the two best marketed fighting games of our time. I think Street Fighter 5 comes close to that, but because of all the backlash, it just couldn't really make that last too long.
Here's the thing, like they had a lot of problems, like with the way things were released, how they changed up the whole season passes, all that stuff. I don't want to get too into it, but obviously there was a problem in the structure itself from the get-go that never really has gotten addressed. Maybe it will get addressed, but that's structurally there was a lot of problems. I don't see structurally this being a problem for Arxis. Like, they've already structured this very well, and I guess at the end of the day, once we get the release and find out what all the characters are, we'll know for sure. But it's just like, it's just so apparent to me that that's not going to be the case, that they're going to fall off on this thing. Especially with their experience with Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue. Like, they're pretty straightforward, right? Like,
they come out swinging every time.
Yeah.
And I don't, like you said, like I don't see them short of them just being like, you know what, screw it, we don't want it to work. Like,
yeah,
I don't see how they could mess it up. Like Nakiel said, as long as they don't screw it up, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be the best ever.
I mean, it's.
I agree with him.
I agree with him too, man. And it is a very telling time for us right now, seeing as this is, you can tell obviously that it's starting to be head and shoulders above what else is out there. And I'm excited as not just a Dragon Ball fan, but as just a fighting game player and a person that's played fighting games over a long period of time, that we finally get something that is a new step in a direction that is a solid one.
Yeah.
You hear about other things or other games, and it's like, ooh, that's like I don't know how that's gonna work, but that's cool that it's different. But this is where it's like, ooh, it's cool, it's different, and it's a solid fucking step. Like this is a platform. You just created a platform.
I like, as crazy as it sounds, that's the only real way I could think of it. Also, is that they, and they're very aware of this, have decided to basically change the game.
Yeah.
And that takes balls, man. That's like, what? Like, did we need it? I mean, I guess we did, because and we don't have time necessarily to talk about it, but I do want to point out that, you know, people have been talking about how much negativity is floating around the FGC currently, right? Pertaining to certain games. I mean, let's be real. They're pertaining to Street Fighter V and Marvel Infinite. That doesn't necessarily transfer to other games. There's plenty of positivity around the FGC right now. It's just focused entirely on Dragon Ball Fighters right now, and BlazBlue Tag cross tag battle. That's not an accident. It's not an accident, and it's not just because it's the IP. Because there's plenty of Dragon Ball games that we don't give a shit about. You know?
Yeah.
It's because.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just because that somebody has decided to do what they knew would work. I believe in developers, and I know that, you know, they learn certain things and that they can use those lessons to make a great product. And sometimes that gets gummed up by red tape, that gets gummed up by direction, that gets gummed up by money, that gets gummed up by sponsors. You know, sometimes all those things converge, and you're not allowed to do anything. And that is, well, I won't say it's not happening here, but if it is happening here, all those factors are allowing this game to rock.
So, kind of going back to what I was saying before, is that, like, though there are those problems with Street Fighter V and Marvel Infinite, you could also say that they took a swing and a miss on certain things that were kind of new, right? And maybe not necessarily from 100% gameplay standpoint, which they did take some different swings at it.
Oh, for sure.
But even from a marketing standpoint of, like, how they were the original ones, or one of the original ones to really put out the whole tournament circuit type thing and make big event on TV and stuff like that, you know, and that is something that Dragon Ball can totally learn from. On top of Tekken was pretty successful, and Injustice and those NRS games were pretty successful in that sense. But we have not had an anime fighter do that. So maybe this is something that this aspect of the game is something that they've got nailed down, where it's like presentation, quality, all top notch. Okay, but where they're gonna take their big swing and a possible miss could be how they try to do this network type stuff and big tournament type things. But you'd have to think that's already established, so it's not going to be that hard to implement. You know, like, we already know how it works. Like, why would you do something crazy different? Like, it's gonna work.
They just have to be okay with doing that. That's it. They just have to be okay with knowing that it's going to work and then doing it. And I don't see them deciding that we're not okay with it. You know? Yeah. I don't see them just being like, you know what, that's been done. You know, like high damage.
It's kind of like how a lot of people told us that this was, if they ever wanted a true to form Dragon Ball fighting game, it would probably end up looking like this. But even in our own mind of what we thought it would be, we never thought that this looks even better than what we thought of.
Dude, easily. It's the perfect time for it, because if this had been 6 years ago or 8 or 10 when we were asking for it.
That is another good point. Yeah. If it's like we've been saying, is the culmination. On top of that, it's the time that this is getting pulled off in. Like, so many times has there been a release of a game where it's like the timing was bad, or maybe the market wasn't there for it at the time, or this other new trend has taken over, so fighting games haven't been able to take advantage of something that's really good or whatever. They're fighting for the same arena. But right now, though, they've turned so many heads in their direction, and not only expose people to a true to form fighting game, but also other people who don't really even give a shit about the genre that may not even play it are like, no, I don't know what the fuck that game is, but
But I like how it looks.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, man.
It's a crazy time, man. Like, you know, and it's the perfect time. Like you said, it's the perfect time. Bamco has played this. Toei has played this. Both of them, they played it perfectly. So smart because Dragon Ball Fever is at an all-time high. It's super because of Super, whatever. I don't know what's causing it, but more people are into talking about Dragon Ball than they have been in previous years. So,
Yeah, man.
It's ridiculous how this all came together at the same time. And so I think this February 1st date is them just, you know what, screw it. Let's strike while the iron's hot. And if there's any problems, we'll fix it in post. This is going to sell a ton of copies. People will play it every time we update it because Bandai Namco always packs the DLC in.
Yeah, and that is going to be interesting how both companies come together on that idea of how they release post initial release content. Yeah, and I totally believe that too. There's gotta release something, and especially if they wanted to capitalize it at its maximum, and this is that game. And since we're at about close to the hour right now, I want to invite you guys to the Discord section that has questions. If you could get it in the next 5 minutes, we'll be able to answer it. Just want to give you a heads up. Can you drop the link in there?
Yeah, let me drop that link in there. Let me make sure I do it to the right one this time because I've been screwing that up lately. All right,
but yeah, man. Drop us a line right there in the question section, and we'll try to get to it in these last 10 to 15 minutes of the show. But back on topic with this, like, what a
time to be a fighting game fan, a Dragon Ball fan, a competitor, and you know, just an overall, you know, fan of the scene. You know, every time I see new stuff for this game, like, and I'll be honest, like, there's been a couple of times where I was like, man, I'm gonna get bored of this shit because I'm getting too hype. I'm spending way too much energy on this. How can I keep it up? But it just keeps coming to me, you know. Like, I'm not even sure if I'm this hyped for KOF games that much, you know. Like, KOF is easy to be hyped for because I love KOF and I know that KOF is delivering a certain kind of product.
Well, it's a part of our DNA, so it's like,
yeah,
you know.
Like, we know it so well that it's like, oh, we already recognize this stuff, you know? We can let that sit for a little bit, wait for it to come out, play it, and then, you know, say we like it. We can decide if we like it then. But with this game, we don't know anything, and they keep surprising us, and it's turning everything that we thought wouldn't happen in a fighting game on its head. It's almost like the release campaign is part of the drama. It's part of it's part of the experience. It's part of what will make this game great. When people talk about, hey, why did the Dragon Ball Fighters totally revolutionize the FGC? And I'm not saying it will, guys. I'm not saying that that's gonna happen.
You're being safe right now.
I'm being safe.
Stop, man. Like, this is.
I said it. I'm gonna own it. I said I'm gonna own it.
Listen, this is why I'm not gonna give you full credit for saying that Ginyu was gonna be in the game, because you're being safe with that bet, and you're like, this is what I really think. What I really think is this. But
I got a lot of thoughts.
It's possible though. Like, you couldn't really say that about other games that have come out. Like, oh shit, this game is changing the fucking face of fighting games. Like, holy shit, dude, it's there. It's in the pocket right now, right? Like,
it is, man. It's so
Dragon
close.
Ball Fighters is in the pocket and ready to take advantage of the opportunity that is obviously there. And the closer and closer we get, the more hype we get, the more interesting notes that we get on it. It constantly feels like they've avoided ridiculous amount of landmines in this short period of time that they've just been ramping this up. You know, I don't know, man. Like I said, we're waiting with bated breath, and on top of that, that beta is a lot closer than you think it is, guys.
Dude, holy shit! Like, so I could have sworn, and you can back me up on this or tell me I'm wrong, but I could have sworn that everybody was going to get into open beta. I thought they would just do an open beta test, and everybody who wanted to try the game out could do that. And if you wanted to get early access to that, you could pre-order it. That's what I thought. That's what I understood. And they still have literature supporting that is still coming out to this day. But now that I know that February 1st is the release day, that means that this beta is happening sometime in January. We don't know how long it's going to last, but that basically bumps up the amount of stuff they have to have done to January. So they actually have less than 3 months.
Yeah. Think about how many characters should be available.
The full game should basically be there.
That is going to be a major kick in the fucking ass for a lot of us that have been following this shit since it got announced and got to play the first betas and got to crack at the game. Like, that's going to be a wealthy amount of content that is going to be readily available for us. Shit. Like,
yeah.
And it was already hard to break shit down in the time that they gave us with the beta this last time, right?
Dude, we missed so much shit. Like, there were people running circles around us.
Yeah.
But like they've been releasing like two characters at a time, a month, basically. That means they can release like 6 more characters, possibly. And we don't know what the final count of the roster is going to be. We don't know what that's going to be. Maybe 6 more characters is all they got left in the tank. And they're very important characters. I don't know. Maybe the rest are going to be handled by DLC. But that's not a lot of time to finish that shit, especially when Yamcha and Tenshinhan ain't done. As far as we know.
Yep, I don't know, man, but let's I guess let's segue into
get these questions going.
Before we go into that, though, I want to give a shout out to all you guys that have subscribed to us this month and the past months and been holding it down with the Goon Nation and really supporting us. And if you'd like to support us further, hit us with that subscribe button, man. Like, really appreciate it, and it really helps motivate us and try to get this content out with you guys, and just so we can kick it and stuff like that. So also, by the way, today, as far as I know, Rod is resubscribed to us. Rod, see you, man. Thanks a lot. So shout outs to all you guys being supportive of this cast. Yep, we're gonna go into the questions now. So
all right,
okay,
we've got a couple in the back up at the top. Rod, see you actually asked the first question.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out to Rod, see you. Thank you for participating.
So, with the reveal of Nappa and Ginyu, who seem to me like the type of characters that won't make it into the game, does it give you any hopes or assurance of a character that is for sure now going to make it? I think my safe list of Extreme Butoden characters have a very high chance of making it. Ironically, one of them is out. I don't think Raditz is making it in. I don't think Raditz made the cut.
I think it was between those two.
Basically, like, yeah.
It was either going to be Raditz or Nappa, and that was something that I thought about. Because some of these characters, if you get this one in, I definitely don't think X characters get it in.
Yeah,
and that was a situation.
And that's actually crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but it's like, oh man, I never even really thought about that until I saw this. Where I was like, hey, maybe they're saving the space for something else. Maybe they do have a plan for slots, and they're not just going to copy the stuff they've already done. So that's cool. But as far as who I think that assures, I mean, I still think Kid Buu has the strongest chance next. Kid Buu and Gotenks. Those are the two I see like it's slam dunks.
Yeah, I agree on that one.
All right. Next question is from GH, who once again has a Korin-based question. What would you think of Korin the cat that trained Goku? If he made it into the game, why would you want or not want him in DBFZ? So, I actually had a little discussion with a couple people both today and a couple days ago about someone like this, because Korin doesn't fly. And obviously, they could have taken some creative liberties and given him a flight mechanic just for the hell of it. But I also thought, what if they didn't? What if they just made him rely on high jump in different directions? What if he had a down up forward, down, up, back, and that's how he got his chase combos.
Man, I have to see it implemented. Like I keep trying to figure out how those type of characters, if they did put them in, how they would work. And the only one that has like that has worked in a way where they don't fly and stuff like that is a more obvious adaptation to a fighting game was Mr. Satan.
Mm.
And it's just so hard how you would get any other character like that. And this is what bums me out about like Master Roshi. And it's like, fuck, what are you gonna do, man? Like if you do that, like, yeah, but I gotta see it first. Like, it's hard for me to imagine like, oh, there's got to be some specific things that they're gonna make it do that works still well within the system, right? Because it's too different.
And Arxis is different. And Arxis is known for doing stuff like that. You know, like they give everybody a ground run except for like characters like Johnny. Johnny doesn't have a ground run. He has a ground dash, which is, if you've played, you know, most of the cast in Guilty Gear, you're like, oh shit, it's like you can't run. It's almost basically a Potemkin movement style. Well, not even close to that. Actually, he has way better movement than Potemkin, but you know, it's just different. I can see them not doing that in fighters because maybe they're trying to bring in people and not scare them off with a bunch of different subsystems, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe they're like, hey, you want to play Korn? You better get ready to work. He's good, but you got to have good hands. That's going to scare people off. But at the same time, I can see it working because they do have high jump in the game. And up until now, I haven't really seen many uses for it other than just like, you know, wanting to get higher in the air. You got a double jump and you got a high jump, and I'm like, you know, what purpose is that really serving? So it almost feels like they were thinking about it.
I don't know if I'm so much on that side of that. I just think that at this point we haven't really developed the neutral game so much, and I'm sure that's why moves like that haven't been used. Once we get a lot tighter in gameplay, we'll be able to use everything to our disposal and to get in more specific situations. Like, for instance, people who can shoot a beam at a certain angle. Maybe you need super jump to get at an angle that helps set you up with an assist or blah blah blah.
True.
Stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, as far as like breaking that down to that degree, as far as the jumps go, I feel like it's almost not worth it because you just have to be so specific on one character and so much work where I feel like you could be creative and make it work another way.
Right.
But yeah, that's where I stand on him. But yeah, it's possible, Chris.
It's possible. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're doing a great job as it is. So.
Well, you know, we gave that question justice. We got
to give it a due diligence. Yeah. Next question comes from Davimon DLH, fair into the show. What super characters do you think would make it if they're not using movies? I mean, we talk about that a lot. I feel, you know, hit.
It's a majority of the cast that we felt was going to be in the game is now in the game.
Yeah,
I feel. The only thing that is out for debate, obviously, is something that they have yet to do, and that's have super characters, right?
Yeah,
and we definitely have talked about that a lot. So that would be something that I would see before movie characters get put in.
I would think so too if they're going to do it, and it may only be like 2 or 3 of them though. That's what I'm thinking, because every time I come back to this question, I realize I hit this wall, and I'm like, you know what? These characters, as far as combatants, are not very fleshed out yet. Maybe Hit is, maybe Kale comes in close second, but as far as like Kabe, Caulifla, that's it.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's not, I mean, like we were talking about before, it could start getting stale with this whole like we use 3 characters to make up 1 character thing.
Yeah,
which I guess you could do that with them. Like
you could, but yeah, that would be boring.
I mean, I would start leaning more towards on this. It's starting to get kind of whack. Like now it's starting to lack creativity. Where, like before, it makes so much sense that you have the Ginyu squad on there, and you know what would have been cool if they would have announced it more as like you get the whole team versus you're picking Captain Ginyu. Like, oh, you just picked the squad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just call it the Ginyu Squad, and they're all in the same portrait,
yeah.
right? Yeah, that would be a lot cooler.
But anyways, yeah. I think we pretty much answered that question, right?
Yeah, I think we killed it. What are your thoughts on recent updates? Oh, sorry, this is from Lionheart 16. What are your thoughts on recent updates on how story mode will pan out? Do you think the multiple routes will eventually converge together for a true ending-like route? Lionheart 16 is talking about the fact that the recent V-Jump scans, or the recent V-Jump release, rather, had more information on the story mode. As basically the way it's going to work is you are going to be you're basically playing yourself, trapped in the Dragon Ball world, becoming the Dragon Ball characters, and a bunch of clones invade and whatever, right? And so you basically go through this ordeal as your favorite characters in Dragon Ball, but with your own personality, I guess. I don't know. And there's different routes you can take, and there's a bunch of different I guess you could say there's a ton of different characters to interact with. You can be villains, you can be good guys, and I guess you're also being escorted by Android 21. Now, I think they probably will do something like that. It could have multiple branching ending paths. I know that something was very popular with Arxis, with Guilty Gear XX, Midnight Carnival, all the way up to Action Core. I think every character had three endings in story mode. So yeah, that could be something that happens. And unlike the Exert story mode, this is not going to be an anime movie. This is going to be animated cutscenes, but you're going to be actually playing matches with these AI monsters and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I could totally see them doing stuff like converging paths and alternate endings and, dare I say, unlockables, depending on what path you choose.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball's always been a property where stuff like that has always been big, right? Like whether it be some really novel thing or something that actually affects the game in a big way, they've always been connected with things like that. As far as like, you think about as far back as like the Budokai series, even I think they did stuff like that.
Like the alternate endings, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's definitely something that, though we don't talk a lot about here on Mount Paozu, the story mode is something that, as of now, has been proven to be a very important thing to have in your game. And I don't think that has been I don't think that they're holding back resources on that. I think that's definitely something that they want to try to achieve in the best way that they can.
Yes. And I mean, no better company to do that than Arxis right now. And you're telling Arxis they don't have to just animate 60 minutes of animated footage. They're like, sure, whatever, man.
Yep.
All right, up next we got Head Pixel. That's a new guy, I believe. I don't think I've seen him in our chat before. Welcome to the Mount Paozu Arcade question chat. Knowing the launch date, how many characters do you think will launch with / come as DLC? What do you think the minimum should be, considering it's 3v3? Great question. I've always thought that 3v3 games need to be at least divisible by 3 when you reach their final number before launch. I feel like that should be like a good number to reach for. Knowing that it's coming up February 1st, again, we don't know what strategy they're employing. We don't know if they're working on these games as they're going along, or if they've already completed a bunch of characters, and possibly Yamcha, Tenshinhan, Nappa, and Ginyu are the last ones they're working on. That's entirely possible.
I got a question for you, though.
Okay.
And for the general audience is, would you, if the game released with the characters that they just announced right now, would you be okay with it? Like, I'll tell you my opinion. If it was released with the way that it is right now, I'm all in 1,000%. And this is why I think this game is so special, right? It's because it could release right now, and sure, I might be like, oh fuck, certain characters didn't make it, but I'm playing the shit out of this game and I'm committed. So my number would be there are at least 2 to 3 more characters that I want in the game, and then after that, the more you give me, fuck yeah, dude, thank you.
I mean, yeah, I feel the same way. If the game released right now, I would be all about it, and I mean, I would be like for real. I'd be sniffing for that DLC. You know, I hope something coming every couple of months, but I would be like, hey, you know, it's still a solid game. Like playing the beta, it was still a fun game to play that had a certain depth that made it competitive. You know. I don't know how much more they can bring to it other than slightly tweaking the characters themselves. Maybe making some of the systems a little more. I mean, I don't even know what they could do to the systems. It kind of works so well. It's both simplistic and effective and high energy and exciting to play and watch. So yeah, I don't know what else they could do to it. Maybe cut down on the team switching, the character switching when you kill a character and they make you go through that clash. Maybe they want to cut down the timing of that a little bit, because I can already see like stream producers just being hella pissed at major tournaments and like, God, this just adds like 5 minutes to every match.
Oh man, but that shit is such a selling point for some.
No, it is,
like
man.
like that love that they give on stuff like that,
dude.
Well, we're just gonna have to eat shit on that one.
Yeah. You just gotta take it,
leave
man.
that in.
You
No,
can't just-
dude. Another thing, if you notice, is that like you can't go into the start screen or into the pause menu when you in destructive finish. I think you gotta.
Oh, you gotta. Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that's something that's different. I don't know if other games, because every game I see at a tournament, it's like, fuck that shit. Start. Finish the game. I know I'm gonna fucking die. So.
Well, remember, destructive finishes happen every time you kill a character, so you're now compounding the destructive finish animation with the. Well, actually, no, that takes the place of the team switch. But yeah, they gotta hold that every time.
Yeah.
So if you destructive finish somebody 3 times, it's like, yeah, you know, suck my
Also, the destructive finish happens regardless if it's the last character or not.
Yeah, it happens on every character. As long as you meet the parameters. I mean, thank God it's not like destructive finish and then they clash. That would be fucking holy shit.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we killed that question as well. Once again, welcome Head Pixel. And last question we have here is from MD Spriggs. Did you know that there's going to be a Dragon Ball convention in Texas next year? Do you think there will be a promotion for fighters there? I mean, let me see. He sent a.
Wait, is this the one where everybody goes to the mall and yells? Is that the one you're talking about?
No, that was
the
just
first one I
people.
saw was in Texas. Yeah, you know what I'm talking
No,
about.
I know exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but that's legit just like a flash mob.
Oh, okay. I'm just being stupid.
No, this is Kamehameha or Kamehakon. That's man, I'm gonna trip that up every time. Is there gonna be a promotion for fighters? I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't run a tournament or possibly an exhibition or anything there, right? But it's happening on May 4th, so the game's gonna be well out by then.
Ooh, you could probably run a nice tournament there, if anything.
I think you could. Actually, that's a good point. Like, what if like tournaments can be held in places that normally nobody pays attention to anymore? You know, right? Like, if somebody tells me I can go to a convention to play Dragon Ball for money, I'm fucking going. They go and say it. They don't have to even tell me they can play for money. Just tell me I can go and play.
Oh man, and then the plus of I get to meet my voice actor crush and Eric Vale. Oh my god,
It's the perfect storm,
fucking trucks, baby.
dude. You don't even get that with Injustice and Marvel.
Well, you know what's crazy is like these set of voice actors for a lot of people, they're their own celebrity. This is the first time of you played a fighting game where the people that do the voices are like their own celebrity. I know there's been a few. I know some of them, the voices for Street Fighter were some people that have been doing it for years that have their own like their own popularity, right?
Yeah.
But these guys, like for sure, they're pretty big names.
Yeah, I mean
cool.
they've been doing like I feel like the people who've been doing Dragon Ball for as long as they have basically become like the English versions of the Japanese voice actors. Like I mean, I don't think they're quite as big internationally, but
Yeah.
I think in their own market, they're just like like you want to meet these people.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm pretty sure that they'll have something like that over there, man. If anything, the community hopefully will exist that they can make something like that happen, and Bandai Namco is down to play ball. So I think they
Yeah,
will.
don't like. I mean, I don't expect anybody to quote unquote mess this up. I think this will be fine,
Mhm.
but don't squander the opportunity.
Mhm.
That's all I really want to say is like, guys, we have something great on our hands here, and if you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't played the game, then you will eventually, and hopefully you will experience the same amount of joy that I did when I played it.
Yeah.
But and the one thing I learned, the one thing I kept thinking about every time I picked up that game was like, holy shit, where do I even begin with this? Where do I even begin to take this anywhere? Do I treat this like any other fighting game? Do I just like wait until Evo and then go in super hard? Do I try to go to tournaments all year round? Do I try to host my own events? I mean, the answer is yes. If you really love it that much.
There is no lack of motivation for this game for a lot of us. We're looking at this in a way that is like, I need to prepare my mind and body to A, be able to perform as a player, and B, try to provide content that can help spur and maintain a community, because this is like keep saying it over and over again, this is something that's going to be worth doing, and I don't doubt it for a second. And yeah, I mean, create those opportunities because they are there, like people are willing to work with you, people are passionate, and this is what spurs communities to become bigger.
Yeah, this is how it gets started. So
I guess that's the questions.
that is the questions for the week.
Really
yeah.
good participation. Thank you guys.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. We got like a pretty full house tonight, and this is our week back too. So I mean, it feels good. I feel like we could keep this going for another six months.
Yeah, man. I'll probably have gray hairs by then.
Oh, dude, just waiting for this game is giving it to me. Like I've never been so stressed out about a game I'm not even playing.
Yeah. But yeah, we've come towards the end of our cast today, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, appreciate you guys being here and shooting the shit about Dragon Ball stuff, and lucky enough we've had a lot of content to be able to go over. Yeah, thanks for your support. If you guys want to give some more support, I already talked about it earlier, hit us up with the subscribe button. And yeah, man, I'll just let you take it out from here, Chris.
Is that
and
me?
Let you close the show and your last thoughts.
Okay. Well, once again, like Abe said, I want to echo those sentiments. Thanks for coming back and watching another great episode of Mount Paozu Arcade. As you may notice, we do not have the Teespring up anymore. As we said last time, the Teespring is dead. We will be bringing back possibly designs in the future. I think you mentioned that before.
Yeah, I could touch on that real quick.
Okay.
So the whole plan is to bring brand new designs, the next stage in Game Goons and Mount Paozu Arcade, and deliver it to you guys in a very eventful moment in the future.
Mhm.
So keep your eyes peeled. We will be presenting those things to you guys. But as it is now, if you did not grab those t-shirts that we had up before, they are gone forever unless somebody puts a gun to my head. I am not suggesting anybody do that. But yes, they're gone. And if you got it, lucky for you, because one of those.
They're now rare. They are now extremely rare.
Yeah. But yeah, that's me speaking on that thing.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the update there. And You know, if you guys haven't got your pre-orders for Dragon Ball Fighters in, get them in now. I believe Bandai Namco store still has some collector's edition available. I do not think the Amazon store is going to ever restock the collector's editions, despite me being on the email list and waiting with bated breath for them to email me saying that the PS4 version is available. So I got to buy the Xbox One version like a fucking schmuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. My life, guys. Don't want to be me. Anyway, once again, thank you for watching. Check us out for more Game Goons stream here at twitch.tv/GameGoons. Check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/GameGoonsTV. And as always, keep it super. You know what I'm saying? Good. There we go.
Cool.